stop absolutely everything you're doing right now because there's a real, genuinely on the record situation developing right now that should have every single Lakers fan sitting up straight in their seat tonight. This genuinely isn't some anonymous internet rumor cooked up for clicks. This is a real Western Conference executive speaking directly and on record to a national NBA reporter describing a specific Oklahoma City Thunder player as an absolute must-have for this exact roster, by name. Here's exactly what was said, word for word, and I genuinely want you to really hear this, because it matters. A Western Conference executive told Heavy Sports, quote, "I think if you're the Lakers, you want to be front and center on some of those guys. Dort is the guy who could just come in and change your entire perimeter defense. He's a must-have if they can get him. That's been a problem for them for so long, but if you have Luka, you need 3-and-D guys, and he's on another level." What? Read that entire quote again, slowly, not a random fan posting on social media. A real, actual Western Conference executive directly evaluating your own team's single biggest weakness by name, on the record, and it genuinely doesn't stop with just one single quote either. Respected NBA insider Mark Stein reported directly and clearly that the Lakers are now actively pursuing a wing defender this exact offseason, right after clearing extra financial flexibility through the completed DeAndre Ayton trade to the Washington Wizards. Multiple credible, well-connected reporters, not just one single source, have specifically connected Luguentz Dort directly to the Lakers as a genuine target this entire summer. Let me remind you exactly who we're actually talking about here, because this is a real, genuinely championship-tested player, not some speculative flyer on unproven potential. Luguentz Dort was a genuine all-defensive first-team selection during the Oklahoma City Thunder's actual championship run, an accolade that only goes to the very best defenders in the entire sport that season. He's one of the single most physical, genuinely versatile perimeter defenders anywhere in the entire league. A player who can guard multiple positions on any given night, absorb real physical contact, and completely change how an opposing offense chooses to attack a defense. He's a genuine bona fide NBA champion with an actual ring on his finger to prove it, still very much in his physical prime at just 26 years old. Here's exactly why this fits so perfectly. It's genuinely almost uncomfortable how obvious the whole thing actually is when you lay it out. The Lakers have one specific, genuinely well-documented weakness that has followed this exact franchise around for years now. Real perimeter defense around their ball-dominant stars. The exact issue that keeps resurfacing in every single playoff exit. Luka Doncic is one of the single greatest offensive engines this entire league has ever seen, but he has genuinely never once been mistaken for a real stopper on the defensive end of the floor. Dort is precisely the answer to that exact problem, a genuine player who can take the other team's best perimeter scorer completely off the table on a nightly basis, freeing Luka up to focus entirely on what makes him truly special offensively. That specific Western Conference executive didn't just casually say Dort would help the Lakers in a general sense. He said, directly and specifically, that Dort is a must-have precisely because of Luka Doncic's exact profile. That's genuinely not some generic throwaway scouting take. That's a direct targeted evaluation of exactly what this specific roster needs right now. Let's talk about the mechanics, because this is where it gets genuinely interesting, and this is real, verifiable information rather than idle speculation. Dort is entering a contract year worth roughly $18 million on a team option currently held by the Thunder, and reporting from around the league indicates Oklahoma City is dealing with real, serious cap constraints after their championship roster's core players graduated into massive second contracts of their own. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's own extension alone eats an enormous chunk of that payroll, and the Thunder's front office has already shown a willingness to move proven veterans elsewhere specifically to manage that exact cap pressure. The Thunder may simply need to shed real salary before the season starts, and a team with genuine cap flexibility, like the Lakers currently have after the Ayton move, is exactly the kind of clean trade partner that makes complete sense on paper for both sides of a potential deal. Dort is entering a contract year worth roughly $18 million on a team option, and reporting indicates Oklahoma City is dealing with real, serious cap constraints after their championship roster's core players graduated into massive second contracts. The Thunder may simply need to shed salary, and a team with real cap flexibility, like the Lakers after the Ayton move, is exactly the kind of trade partner that makes sense on paper for both sides. Let me also talk about the championship pedigree angle here, because it's genuinely relevant to a locker room in transition. Dort was a foundational piece of a genuine championship defense. The exact kind of player who understands what it takes to win when the games matter most in the spring. Adding a player with that specific experience to a Lakers team still figuring out its identity after LeBron's departure brings real value that goes beyond just individual defensive assignments. It brings a proven, battle-tested voice in a locker room still finding its new center of gravity around Luka. Let's also talk honestly about the durability piece here, because it genuinely matters for a team that just went through years and years of chasing perimeter defense solutions that never quite panned out in the end. Lu Dort has genuinely been remarkably durable throughout his entire career, rarely missing any significant time, exactly the profile you want in a 3-and-D wing, rather than betting real assets on a player who looks great on paper but simply can't stay on the floor. That reliability alone separates him from several other defensive options the Lakers have flirted with in recent years. Now, I have to be completely, genuinely straight with you here tonight, because that's honestly the only real way I've ever done business on this channel. Lu Dort is coming off a genuinely down shooting year this past season, just under 39% from the field and around 34% from beyond the three-point line, a real noticeable step back from his established career norms. That's a legitimate, honest concern for any team considering paying real money for him going forward, and nothing here is anywhere close to a signed deal. An executive's quote and a beat reporter's confirmation that the Lakers are genuinely looking at wing defenders is simply not the same thing as an actual trade call being formally placed between two front offices. Let me also be completely genuinely honest about the doubts here, because I always give you the full, complete picture on this channel, no exceptions. The first real, honest doubt here is the shooting regression, since Lu Dort's actual percentages dipped noticeably this past season compared to his career norms, and any team paying real assets for him is genuinely betting on a bounce-back season rather than simply banking on his championship season numbers repeating exactly as they were before. The second honest doubt is that Oklahoma City, even with real cap pressure genuinely building across their roster, may simply choose to prefer keeping a proven championship-level defender like Dort rather than moving him away purely for financial reasons alone. The third honest doubt is that other teams around this entire league, given exactly how directly and specifically this executive spoke, are almost certainly exploring this exact same idea in their own front offices right now, meaning the Lakers would genuinely need to move with real urgency rather than simply assume this window stays open indefinitely for them alone. But here's what I genuinely want you to sit with for a second, because even after accounting for every single one of those honest doubts, the underlying signal here still remains genuinely strong and absolutely worth watching very closely. When a Western Conference executive uses the specific phrase "must have," unprompted, about a player fitting your exact roster need, that's about as strong a signal as this business produces before real negotiations even begin. Executives around this league talk to each other constantly, and when one of them frames a player this directly in connection with a specific team, it's rarely just idle chatter. It's often a preview of where real conversations are already heading. Let's talk about what this actually looks like on the floor, because the fit goes beyond just reputation alone. Just picture a Lakers defense where Luka Doncic no longer has to guard the opposing team's most dangerous perimeter scorer every single night, because Dort is doing that exact job at an all-defensive level, snap after snap, series after series, freeing Luka up to conserve his energy for the offensive end where he's truly special. Just picture Austin Reeves getting to play something closer to free safety on the defensive end, rather than constantly chasing quicker guards around endless screens all night, because Dort has already absorbed that exact defensive assignment on his own. That's not a marginal upgrade to a good defense. That's exactly the kind of specific, targeted fix that turns a good defense into a genuinely difficult one to consistently score against once the playoffs actually arrive. And let me underline just how specific and pointed this particular executive quote actually was, because that context genuinely matters here. Executives around this league talk about dozens of players every single week, most of it generic and forgettable. This wasn't generic. This executive specifically connected Dort's exact skill set to Luka Doncic's exact need, unprompted, in a way that reads like real insider knowledge, rather than a surface-level scouting note tossed off for a quick headline. Picture a Lakers defense where Luka no longer has to guard the opposing team's most dangerous perimeter scorer, because Dort is doing that job at an all-defensive level, snap after snap, series after series. Picture Austin Reaves getting to play free safety on defense rather than chasing quicker guards around screens all night, because Dort has already absorbed that exact assignment. That's not a marginal upgrade. That's the kind of specific targeted fix that turns a good defense into a genuinely difficult one to score against come playoff time. And let me put this in the context of what the Lakers are actually building right now, because it genuinely raises the stakes on this entire conversation. This front office just spent the entire offseason retooling specifically and deliberately around Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves, adding real size at the center position through the Walker Kessler sign and trade and clearing genuine cap room in the process by moving off DeAndre Ayton's contract. A proven 3-and-D wing defender, especially one with actual championship pedigree already on his resume, is exactly the missing piece that completes this entire retooling process, rather than just adding another recognizable name to a crowded roster. Let me also address the money mechanics directly, because it's fair to ask how a team that just spent heavily on Kessler still finds room for another real addition. The truth is, Dort's $18 million team option is a genuinely manageable number compared to what a true max-level star would cost, and the Lakers' recent moves to clear cap flexibility through the Ayton trade were specifically designed to create exactly this kind of additional financial breathing room. This isn't a scenario requiring a second max-level commitment. It's a value-level move that fits within what the Lakers have already positioned themselves to afford. This front office just spent the entire offseason retooling specifically around Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves, adding size at center and clearing real cap room in the process. A 3-and-D wing defender, especially one with actual championship pedigree, is exactly the missing piece that completes this retooling, rather than just adding another name to the roster. Let me leave you with one final thought here, because it's the part almost nobody discussing this situation is fully connecting yet. Executives around this league do not casually drop the phrase "must have" about a specific player in connection with a specific team unless they genuinely believe real conversations could happen. That's not the kind of quote a source gives a reporter for no reason. It's the kind of quote that reflects what teams around the league are actually hearing in their own private conversations. When you combine that with Mark Stein's direct reporting that the Lakers are genuinely pursuing a wing defender, and OKC's very real cap situation, you have all the pieces of a story that's genuinely worth watching closely rather than dismissing as background noise. So here's what I need from you tonight. Watch every single beat reporter covering both the Lakers and the Thunder very closely over the next few weeks, because a story that starts with an anonymous executive quote and a genuine Mark Stein report has a real documented way of becoming an actual transaction once the right decision makers on both sides start talking directly to each other behind the scenes. And tell me down below, honestly and truly, if you're the Lakers, do you go get the exact 3-and-D wing and executive just called a genuine must-have for your specific roster? Or do you decide the recent shooting concerns make this addition too risky to pursue right now, given everything else you've already spent this summer? Because somewhere in Los Angeles tonight, a Lakers front office that just spent an entire summer methodically retooling around Luka Doncic is staring directly at the exact missing piece an outside executive just identified by name, out loud, on the record. And somewhere in Oklahoma City tonight, a genuinely championship caliber roster dealing with real, mounting cap constraints is quietly figuring out exactly which proven pieces it can actually afford to keep around going forward. I'll be watching every single word out of every single insider's mouth over the next few weeks. You can genuinely count on that completely, no exceptions. And the moment this situation actually moves, even the slightest hint of a real conversation happening between these two front offices, you already know I'm coming right back here to break it down for you, piece by piece, exactly like I just did tonight. Stay close. Sometimes the clearest, loudest signals anywhere in this league aren't a formal trade call at all. They're a real league executive telling a national reporter exactly what your team specifically needs, by name, out loud, on the record for anyone paying attention to hear.